seen what somebody is telling me about the Andrew Tate situation when they don't know the half of it. And the only reason why I'm even this passionate about this, because I really don't even give a fuck too much about Andrew Tate, um, is because this is the same rhetoric that was getting pushed when hold on. This is the same rhetoric that was being pushed when Kevin Samuels passed away. And then people, for whatever reason, people who don't actually listen to what's being stated is allowing other people to guide them in the direction of which conversations are being had, and they have no idea what they're talking about. They have no idea what they're talking about. People who are not a part of these conversations, who never have been a part of these conversations, are telling me about things that are being said, and they're not even listening to the things that are being said. You do not live in a patriarchy. You are a woman who is on an app that you have the ability to talk freely to other people. That is not a patriarchy. And it has the ability to disagree with men. It's not a patriarchy. It's not. Are there systemic problems that may have still enrooted in our culture through patriarch, through patriarchy laws that have been passed in previous decades? Of course. So that's like saying that we still live in Jim Crow. Like, we don't live in Jim Crow. We don't live in slavery days. Black people have freedoms. They have liberties. Are there still roots of systemic racism that still plagues this country? Yes. But that doesn't mean that we live in fucking slavery times. You claiming that that it's a patriarchy and a woman can run for president, you're fucking dumb. You are an idiot. I'm sorry to tell you that. That's not how that works. But the problem still stands and it still persists. Andrew Tate being banned, I have no problem with it. If that's what they want to do with their company, with their platform, fine. That's on them. If that's what they want to do, fine. Fine. All I say is be consistent. Be consistent. There's a woman still on YouTube right now to this day who is spewing rhetoric that black boys, infants, black males should be aborted. Tens of thousands of views. Her page has 46 million views. Her page is verified. It's a verified YouTube account. Hundreds of thousands of subscribers. Telling masses that black boys should be aborted. And there's literally, and I mean this seriously, there's literally no other way for me to skew it. Bro, if you go and look at the sources of which they're trying to pin Andrew Tate down to something, bro, it literally makes no sense. So all I say is just be consistent. All I'm saying is be consistent. If you don't know what's going on, if you don't know the rhetoric, if you don't know what is being said, then stop trying to have a conversation about something that you don't know about. I get that you can be passionate about it, but it literally takes, and I mean literally, it literally takes 2 minutes to be informed about what somebody is saying. All you have to do is just check on what somebody is saying to see the validity behind it. Once more, if they view that as a abusing TOS, fine, fine. But I'm gonna tell you right now, bro, there's a lot of people who are abusing TOS, who is going against TOS right now. If what y'all are citing or what they are citing as Andrew Tate being detrimental or dangerous, there's a lot of people who are doing that. Andrew Tate running through a hypothetical with a woman running at him with a machete. If that's the hypothetical that y'all are running with to why his rhetoric is dangerous. That's crazy. If you're sitting here telling me that Andrew Tate citing biblical text, because I mean, I don't know if people don't know this, but in the Bible, in the Quran, in many books of God, women do not have the same right, privileges. They do not have the same leverage. They do not have the same. They're not even viewed the same as men. Andrew Tate citing what is being stated in biblical text to explain to you his viewpoint of women being the property of men when they get married, because when a woman gets married, her father is the one who walks her down the altar and gives her away to the man. We know that. So in that context, that's not that crazy of a statement to be said. But yet, I can literally be in another room where you have a woman who is completely undermining the concept of assault, to even dare believe that we as a society has made it normal for men to put their hands on women. That's a joke. You know that, I know that, we all know that. There's nowhere in on this planet, especially, let me not say this planet, there's nowhere in this country where a man can put his hands on a woman and it's viewed the same as a woman putting her hands on a man, or even a man putting his hands on a woman viewed as acceptable. But we have idiots who are lying about that. But it's the same thing. As soon as a man gets deplatformed, you have idiots running around trying to tell you what somebody else said, and they only heard half of what things are being stated. Only half of it. You heard half of the story, but you think you heard everything. Now all of a sudden, I'm supposed to sit there and listen to you spew falsehoods. Furthermore, Instagram can really suck my dick, because I'm not going to sit here and allow a platform who literally, and I do mean literally, Instagram might be the core fundamental problem with a lot of Generation X and Zs who deal with depression. You have a fucking platform that literally promotes body imagery that's not realistic, people who Photoshop images of themselves on these trips that aren't real, that has a direct correlation to hitting depression at an all-time high, or at least as long as it's been recorded. Instagram has been directly affecting that. Those niggas can suck my dick, because this nigga Zuckerberg was selling people's information. But because Andrew Tate cites biblical text about how women are men's properties while giving them up during in a wedding sense, now all of a sudden, oh man, he's really fucking dangerous. If you believe that, fine. Fine. But there's a lot of people you would then need to deplatform. And so, at the end of the day, we're all waiting for it to happen. But until then, stop telling me that you live in this patriarchy. Stop telling me that things are massively unequal. Are there still symptoms of it? Yes, of course. There's symptoms of racism. Yes. That doesn't mean that we're fucking slaves. That doesn't mean we live in Jim Crow. That doesn't mean that we're fighting Brown versus Board of Education. It's not what that means. Them being symptoms, them being systems set in place, does not mean the entire entity of a government or the structure that you live in is based off of racism. Are there symptoms? Are there root problems? Are there systematic changes or effects that occur that could put women at a disadvantage and put men at an advantage at the same time? Of course. But that doesn't mean that you live in a patriarchy. But once more, we're doing the same thing, bro. A man gets deplatformed, and now all of a sudden, it's a bunch of people who never even listened to what this nigga was saying, trying to tell you all why he needs to be deplatformed. Y'all niggas never listened to him. Y'all never listened to this man. Y'all never did it. So odd to me how some of y'all understand, especially in the fucking basketball community. Y'all niggas know y'all can't speak on somebody. Oh, you didn't really watch Michael Jordan play, so y'all you can't talk about MJ. This nigga he's creating content right now. His content is being pushed right now. You still decide not to watch it, and I'm supposed to validate your opinion on Andrew Tate. Man, shut the fuck up, bro. We doing the same bullshit, and I have to believe what somebody is telling me is accurate when they have no representation or no understanding of what exactly this man is saying, or they're taking what he's saying purposefully out of context. Yeah, all right, y'all niggas is fucking finished, nigga. That shit is OD. That shit is mad dumb. And again, I don't even agree with this nigga Andrew Tate, but I'll be damned if we go through this same fucking bullshit where somebody is literally, and I mean literally, misrepresenting what somebody else says because you don't like him, because he hurts your feelings. Because it's something y'all niggas is Christian, but don't read the fucking Bible. Oh, he said women are property. You Christian. If you're a Christian, you believe that as well. Or do you not read the Bible? Or are you not Christian? Go read the Bible. It says it routinely. Men are above women. It says it routinely throughout the Bible. It says it all over. Hey, Genesis 3:16. To the women, he said, I will surely multiply your pain in childbearing. I will surely multiply your pain in childbearing. In pain you shall bring forth children. Your desire shall be for your husband, and he shall rule over you. That's what it says in the Bible. Genesis. It's not good that the man should be alone. I will make him a helper fit for him. That's what it says in the Bible, bro. Peter. Likewise, husbands, live with your wives in an understanding way, showing honor to the woman as the weaker vessel, since they are heirs with you of the grace of life, so that your prayers may not be hindered. Likewise, be wives, be subject to your own husbands, so that even if some do not obey the word, they may be won without a word by the conduct of their wives. Be subject to your own husband. Bro, it says it in the Bible. So if you're a Christian, you should know that. But y'all, the same way you didn't listen to Kevin Samuels, you don't listen to what this nigga is saying, you don't read the Bible. I don't take none of y'all niggas serious. You don't have no input in these conversations because y'all don't know what the fuck y'all talking about. Or at least I'll never take it serious. And if a man is literally referring biblical text, bro, take that up with God then. You sitting here trying to ban Andrew Tate, it sounds like you need to ban Christianity. But nowhere in the Bible does it even come close to stating, especially in direct text, that men and women are in the same playing field, that they're the same. It doesn't say that. There's several references of a man giving up his daughter for livestock or for just miscellaneous things. It's stated numerous times, or even it's still implied that a man is above a woman. Hey, if you don't believe it, that's fine. But there's plenty of people who do. They call themselves Christians. So I don't understand this concept. I've looked at the evidence in which you're trying to get Andrew Tate out of here. There's not that much sense. That it don't make that much sense to me. Everything has been debunked. It's been debunked. And again, if you want to get rid of him, fine. Are there things that he said that are misogynistic? Of course. And if you want to get rid of him because of that, fair. But then just be consistent. Be consistent across the board.
We got it, you ugly ass nigga. But the whole point is, right? We get it. But I do want to know, right? Like, what got you so riled up, right, about her conversation specifically? Like, what made you decide to start this space?
Because once more, I have to sit here and allow somebody to share a space with a lot of people when she doesn't know what she's talking about. Literally in the space, I sat there and said, "We don't live in a patriarchy." Then Omar corrected me, or he tried to put context and said, "Well, there's still symptoms of it." I said, "Yeah, for sure." Like,
yeah, I was there. No, I was there the entire time. I'm trying to figure out, like, what was the exact point? Like, was it when she was basically ignoring men getting beat by women? When she was claiming we were a patriarchy?
That's the other problem, where she was implying that we live in a world where it's okay for men to put their hands on women, or like that has ever been deemed acceptable. No, it's not. We just got done dealing with the whole.
Then she tried to say that, like, Blueface wasn't a good example because of his actions in the past. And like, that's a little weird, honestly. Like, what Blueface did, because real quick, because what Blueface did, no one's saying she was trying to act as if y'all were condoning. Like, no one was saying that shit was right. What we saying is that doesn't then give her the right to then go beat on him. That's all it is, bro. And she out here acting like, no, she was calling that nigga a bitch and saying she can do whatever she wants to him. Because of something that he did in the past. That's just kind of crazy to me.
Crazy, but not only that, because mind you, let's be clear. That's like me sitting here saying, "Oh, because a woman cheated or beat on a man 5 years ago, that I believe it's fine if she gets beat on today." Like, no, it's not okay. And I don't know what world you live in, but again, it's a man, so who gives a fuck? Matter of fact, I know it's so socially acceptable, or it's so socially condemned, that a man putting his hand on a woman, that we were literally on the brink of this nigga Johnny Depp losing his whole career based off of allegations that were fucking false. That's how I know it's condemned. That man lost millions of dollars. He lost roles. He lost opportunities, not off of there actually being evidence of it, just because a woman said so. And then literally there's evidence of her acknowledging that she can just say whatever she wants, and she knows for a fact that the public perception is going to believe her. So again, when I gotta sit here and have a conversation about real shit that's happening in the world, and you have this fucking delusional idiot.
I told Mustard to join space, so just be prepared for that.
Oh my goodness. When I gotta sit here and have these real conversations about men's problems that still have never been addressed, and I have to sit here and share space with a delusional idiot who is not grasping anything that's being stated, it further proves the point in which everything still exists under. It further proves the point why Andrew Tate exists. It proves the point why Fresh and Fit, why Kevin Samuels, why all these people exist, and may sprinkle in misogyny, or let's just say they have a baseline undertone of misogyny in their messages.
Which they do. Which
is fine. If you want to get rid of them, get rid of them. But then I would still say all the content creators that are sitting there bashing men, that are sitting there telling their tens of thousands of viewers every time they upload their own content that they need to be aborting black babies. Excuse me, let me rephrase that. Aborting black male babies. Because the black male is pointless. He's useless to to society. He does nothing but bring down all that rhetoric that she was spewing, and she has been existing on the YouTube platform and on Twitter and on IG for 5 years. That can exist.
Wait, but also real quick, because I heard you brought up, because I follow a lot of these guys, because I like to hear opinions. Because I follow, what's her name? Drew a follow. You brought her up in like one of the conversations. And it was crazy because you talked about something, and like in one of her recent TikTok videos, right? She talked about how like she thinks it's okay to fight fire with fire, right? And like she thinks it's okay to belittle men or do all that stuff, insult men. Like the thing you said you had an issue with, she thinks it's okay because men do it so often to women, right? And like the men who she's insulting or who she's targeting deserve it. What do you think about that? Because you
No,
said you
I've literally seen her insult men who said nothing about women. I've seen it several times. She can try again with that. Most of her content, I will say most of her content does fall under that line, though. To be fair, most of her content does fall under the line of a man insulting. Sometimes not even insulting, but a man insulting a woman, so she insults him. I have no problem with that. But no, I've seen there have been several times where a man may just say a preference, or a man may just speak about his beliefs, and it's immediately followed by, oh, look at you. You're built like a popsicle stick. You're skinny. You probably got a small dick. For whatever reason, women, and this is also just weird to me, women feel so comfortable with calling men gay. How you use the concept of being gay as a tool to insult somebody is weird to me.
But
I guess that would never be called
hey, Lo,
homophobic.
once again, watch. We ain't in Discord. Watch how you speak. No, let me just.
No, but fuck it, bro. It's so odd to me how that's not viewed as homophobic. When women can go around using the concept of being gay as an insult to men, that's not homophobic. But hey, I guess when men say it is homophobic. Interesting to me.
Women are more homophobic in public than dudes.
No, Lo, make me co-host. By the way,
at this point, people will just go on the internet and lie, which is kind of why the Andrew Tate shit kind of got big in the first place. If you're gonna go on the internet and lie about certain issues like this, there is going to be like a backlash. There's going to be a bounce back eventually, and Andrew Tate was basically a part of that. Like, there's nowhere in the United States of America where you can go and hit a woman as a man and be what praised her, or even like that's not condoned anywhere in the United States. But on the other hand,
like that. That was such a bold-faced lie by her. That was such a crazy lie that she said. Like that was.
I get disagreeing with someone.
And then people will get surprised when people like Andrew Tate get big when you're gonna lie like that on the internet.
They lie out of like hatred for someone they never even met. Like I don't get it.
Bro, there's clips of Andrew Tate blatantly saying that I love women. I feel like they should be protected. Like, but people can like ignore that shit.
Andrew Tate literally was trying to convince XQC that you would have to protect your wife if she got broken in, if if somebody broke into your house. Like he stated it several times. But hey, XQC says, hey, I'm not about to protect my wife if somebody breaks in. It's all for one. Nobody says nothing about that. And that is literally directly saying that I'm not going to protect women. This nigga brings up a hypothetical where a woman is coming at him with a machete, and that is the piece of evidence they're going to use to say he's teaching boys how to abuse women.
It's crazy.
Yeah, that Forbes article.
That's scary. He was clearly joking.
It's scary too.
And I'm gonna say, and
he was laughing, joking.
Clearly joking. But even in the it's such an extreme hypothetical that nobody should dare even take it serious. But even if you did, in the hypothetical, it is implied that she is using an instrument that could kill a man. And even then, though, which again is this is the point. This is the shit I'm saying right here. Let's to her fucking that bozo I was talking to, that fucking idiot I was talking to.
Talking about that female?
To that fucking female, that idiot.
Lame asshole.
So you believe, let's be clear here.
Go down.
You believe that it's somehow socially acceptable for men to hit women, or at least that it's not made a big deal out of it. However, yet, in the hypothetical in which they're trying to pin Andrew Tate on, in that hypothetical, it's led with a woman attacking him with a machete, and they still didn't give a fuck about that context. How dare you put your hand on a woman, even when she's attacking you with a machete?
I mean, but Lo, the man is supposed to have restraint, bro. Come on now.
Even when the fucking machete is being drawn on him.
Shit,
So
I mean, hold her wrist and wait for the police to show up, bro. Come on now.
and call 911 while you're also holding her. I mean, like it's a joke, bro. It's a joke. I can't. It's a joke, and the
Not
reason
only,
why is because we try to have these. I'm getting tired of trying to being put in safe spaces when trying to have legit conversations, and we're not having genuine conversations with people. They're very disingenuous conversations that are being had, and yet men are still being told to watch their rhetoric, bro. Everything that we just sat there and said to make it seem as if like women are not emboldened to hit men because there aren't any repercussions behind it, to act like that's not a real thing is a fucking lie. To act as if like men are not at a massive disadvantage when it comes to the result of divorces is a fucking lie. To completely ignore the self-deletion rate of men in contrast to women and the amount of stress that has to be putting on men is a fucking, to completely ignore that is ignorant and dumb, and it's all part of why we got to where we are now. So y'all removing somebody who, again, I don't 100% agree with, but y'all removing him and then still not presenting any adequate options, and even when they are, that person still has to speak a certain type of way, because if he's not, he's then taken out of context. So the same thing that happened to TD Jakes like 2 or 3 months ago, where that other idiot took him out of context on what he was saying and didn't even listen to the whole clip. This happens routinely with men. TD Jakes was on, he was doing a sermon for literally 30, 40, an hour long sermon. And they clipped out a 30-second clip of him referring to women. Oh, that's unfair. This right here is the patriarchy. That literally before he talked about women, he went on and on and on and on and on talking about how men need to improve. That part gets cut out. The same way it got cut out with Kevin Samuels. The same way when Kevin Samuels was
Cam
talking about
Newton too. Cam Newton too.
everybody. And Cam Newton too. The same way when Kevin Samuels was talking to these women, and those women would degrade the average man every single day, would sit there and say, that's not enough. The average man, what he does is not enough for me. Oh, 50K, I'm literally laughing at the concept of dating an average man. All that gets cut out. But as soon as Kevin Samuels looks at a fat woman and says, hey, you're fat, that's a problem.
And the thing that gets me is like, we were literally sitting in that space, and all I was hearing was, "Oh my God, it's a patriarchy! It's a patriarchy! It's a patriarchy!" But like, then when we bring up Blueface, all of a sudden it's like, bro, but Blueface, like he mentally abuses women and all this and that. He floored her, but like, what happened before then? She punched him in the face. She was hitting this nigga, and you sat there and said, "Who cares? It's a weak example." And that's the point. Nobody ever cares about the fact that men commit the most suicides. Men are depressed as well. Nobody ever cares about men's trauma. And then when I brought it up, I think it was Omar who said, he was like, "Oh, I'm being weird by mentioning men's trauma." But that's the point. Y'all, people don't want to talk about these issues because it's bigger than people want to make it seem. They think it's weird to talk about the fact that we live in a society that no one gives a fuck about how men feel. That's why somebody can go out there and say things like black men should be aborted. I hate men. How many times you hear women say I hate men so comfortably? So comfortably say they hate the other gender. A gender that not only gave them life, if they have fathers that are active in it, they got brothers, they got cousins, but yet they're so comfortable to say, I hate men. There's so much anti-men rhetoric that we've just become so accustomed to, but yet when it's the other way around, we're so active and progressive about those topics. It's crazy to me, bro. And this Andrew Tate situation is a clear indication of that.
Bro, that last shorty, as
I
soon
agree.
as Blueface was brought up, she stopped even listening. She wasn't even letting people get the opportunity to explain the point. Like, she didn't want to hear that shit at all.
But again and again, God
At all.
But again and again, God forbid a woman had done any wrong. Because again, that just doesn't, like, that ideology doesn't work anywhere else. If a woman does something 5, 10, even 2 months ago, that does not then mean that it would then be acceptable for her to get beaten up because of shit she did in her prior life. Like, come on, what sense does that make? But with a man, Oh, he got hit. It was justifiable. That's just justifiable that he got his ass beat. A woman, no, there's no circumstance where that can be justifiable. That's crazy. That is literally crazy.
Cook.
And
It's
what
to the
you
point.
in
It's to the point where people cheer for Kevin Samuels dying. Like, where women can openly in the public cheer that a man died. Like, it's crazy.
And
Not gonna
it's
lie,
crazy.
they were saying I was hearing a lot of women. I'm not trying to put all black women on the spot here, but I was seeing black women say he was lying with someone who wasn't black. He was dating someone that wasn't black.
Who
So
gives
that's
a
what
fuck?
he deserved. So that is what he deserved. Like saying shit like that. Like I said, like it's insane to me. And I have to say this again. Like women are very comfortable saying things about men. Like if you go on Twitter right now, I guarantee you it doesn't take you longer than 2 minutes to find a tweet of a woman saying, "Man, I can't stand men. I hate men. I can't believe men do this, men do that." Like I hardly hear men ever like be as confident to say those things out in public the way women are, bro. They're so confident.
They're not, and nobody is, which is why when she sat there and said, when she sat there and said, "Hey, no, it's just socially acceptable," or even implied that it's socially acceptable, or that men, or people are pushing aside women or men getting putting their hands on women or men assaulting women. Yo, all Meg had to do was say Tory Lanez assaulted me, and that nigga got put in jail. There's still to this day, there's not any irrefutable evidence of that happening, and he still got put in jail.
There's actually evidence of the opposite.
Yeah, and if anything, as we continue to progress towards it, it's actually looking like the fucking opposite. That he didn't do anything at all. That it might even been that she did something to him. Still doesn't matter. Still doesn't care. Who cares? By her logic, let's break down how fucking dumb her logic is. That they were in a manipulated relationship, so that's fine. I guess she believes that Rihanna getting her ass beat by Chris Brown was fine. Right?
That's crazy right there.
But
That's
God
facts.
forbid somebody say that. God forbid somebody say that. You know, that shit is not the fucking same. And the audacity to have to hear somebody act like it's the same is ridiculous. And that bullshit is what has led us to where we are right now. If y'all do not want to hear, if y'all believe that people like Andrew Tate should not have a platform, then just be consistent. Because if that is the case, then it wouldn't be any vitriol being put toward the opposite direction, because we all know that it's unfair. And so when a man may say something that is misogynistic, which they do say things that are misogynistic, if you want to get rid of them, fine. But every single time a woman says, "Oh, men are trash. I hate men. Black male boys need to be aborted. All men are gay. They body shame men off of things that they can't control, like their dick size or their height." You call a fat woman fat. She is fat. You're fat. It's a problem, dog. It's a problem. It's a problem.
And it's crazy, honestly. But I mean, it is, I guess, just the world we live in, man. Like people don't really care, you know.
But just acknowledge the world. Even if we want to sit here and say it's the world we live in, fair enough. But just acknowledge it. Don't sit here and fucking lie about we live in a world where men putting their hands on women is getting pushed aside and nobody doesn't care about that.
Shut up.
And then she went,
talking about?
she went as far as saying
That's such a lie too. Like I don't even
You're
get how
a
you can tell a bold-faced lie like that.
she
Like
went as far as saying men's problems are stood up for more too. Like
you should
what
be
the fuck?
ashamed of yourselves.
I guarantee you know what's crazy about that? Whoever said
This
that
nigga
point,
said
that's true. She really went as far as to say that men's problems are focused on more. When it's so crazy that if you ask the average person who commits the most suicide, people don't even know it's men. People don't know men are the ones that commit the most suicide. People don't think men actually go through mental problems. We're just expected to alpha, you know, get through this situation. You know what I'm saying? And if you're not a real man. If you can't get through this, you're not a real man. You know what I'm saying? But when the shoe's on the other foot with women, we have so much attention towards it because their mental health, it's fragile. You know what I'm saying? That's how we look at it. But then she wants to throw the whole, You just don't know it's a patriarchal world because you're just normalized in it. Man, cut the bullshit, bro.
That's like somebody, bro. Yeah, Jesus Christ, that's so fucking dumb, bro. And so I can't be in a platform being shared. I can't share a platform with somebody that dumb getting a voice to be able to spew lies. She was literally lying.
And it's wild
Fucking
because
bold-faced lying, bro.
I don't even think
No
women
one checked
actually
her.
understand the amount of power that they can actually exercise in this country. Like, not only can you accuse a man and everybody believes you, rightfully so, because I don't think a lot of people are just gonna lie. But not only can you just accuse a man and they're gonna believe you, but like there's more women in this. And if I'm not mistaken, there's more women in America than men. Like in the world, actually, I think there's more women than men. Like a lot of these like politicians that they be putting in office, like guess who voted for Trump? A lot of women. You know what I'm saying? Like women.
Lo, make Mustard your co-host, by the way.
Like women just sit there and act like
No,
they
he's
got
a
no
pig.
Like your
power.
extra one.
Like they
He's a
act like they
pig.
got no power. Like this is still the 1700s, but they can't work, they can't vote, they can't do nothing. And like, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of things we have left to fix with rights for women, rights for black people, gay people, all people. But don't sit there and just act like there are not advantages that you have in society as compared to men, and then brush off the disadvantages that men have.
You
Because
don't need
that's just
rights,
bullshit.
Alma.
Oh my God, Ash. Well, I'm about to say, who did you tell me to give me?
I said make Alma your second co-host. Alma Mustard, David.
No, he's a pig, bro. Don't let him continue
Oh
this
my God.
rhetoric.
This nigga here, bro.
Yeah, I don't
Listen,
like
listen.
the rhetoric you're
Listen,
pushing.
listen. Mustard is just mad that he's not red pill like me, bro.
Oh my
Listen,
God.
This
No,
nigga
Mustard's
troll.
mad
listen.
that he
Get this
gets
nigga out of here, bro.
Mustard's mad that he gets no pussy, no beard,
Oh,
no
no,
Fam,
hoes.
takes
fam,
all of his energy,
fam,
his pent up aggression out on women.
Bro,
fam,
if y'all
That's
don't
sis,
how
get
we
these
get it, son.
fresh and
fam.
fit niggas out of here, bro. These niggas is bullshitted, bro.
Real talk, real talk. What was you about to say?
Oh, well, number one, I was about to ask you. I caught the tail end of what you were saying. I guess you were talking about the situation that just happened in the other space with the young lady.
Yeah, it was. She literally not only took what I said out of context. She was conflating multiple people's arguments into
Correct.
one thing. And I just FYI, I came to have to say this. Just because people share the same space, that does not mean that they all agree with the same thing, or just because we're on the same side.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
agree with any no troll. Like I don't agree with everything you're saying, Lo, obviously, but like I can still, have a conversation with you, etc.
But what she was doing was she would take the things that I would say, and there may be some things you would disagree with or say that you said, and then counter. Well, you were there, and she was
Right.
basically just conflating everything into one. And I was like, well, you doing that is not putting everything into proper context. When I tried to explain it to her, she was like, "Oh, I didn't say you said that." And I'm like, "You didn't say that, but what you're saying is implying you're making an argument based off of what two other people said, like two things that two other people said, not one person. So just because somebody else said doesn't mean that the person who said the other thing said it in response to that. They just said that independently on their own. So that was the first problem. The second problem is that as soon as we then identified, I mean, that was really the biggest problem is her her sitting here saying that men putting their hands on women is just accepted. And then she said that because she said, well, the video has been pushed around for a while. Y'all just admitted it. And so if y'all admitted that, y'all have to acknowledge that it's been socially acceptable. Like, yeah, it's been socially acceptable because he already explained what it was months ago. And then the woman that was in there also confirmed what he said as well. So that's the reason why it's been fine, because we already know what it is. But once more, when you have somebody who does not know what they're talking about speaking out their ass, they shouldn't be a part of the conversation. They need to shut the fuck up and listen to all of the context, since they came into the conversation without the context.
Right.
She did not know what she was talking about.
Yeah, what I was gonna say is it was funny because number one, I think that the conversation just escalated quickly. And we were just discussing this, that we we were allowing her to speak. That was number one. And then she just continually, whenever you were ready to retort, she just cut you off because she didn't agree with what you were saying. And so from that from then on is when it kind of went left, and then also the Blueface situation. Damn, it was something I was just about to say. I forgot my thing.
She also, and I don't mean to cut you off real talk.
Oh yeah, go
I
ahead.
don't think anybody's mentioned this, but she also said um that she also came at the other shorty that was in there because
Oh yeah.
she said she didn't stand up for her while all these men were attacking her. And I hate when people do that bullshit. Like, how
No,
are you
not
gonna sit there and play victim when you were been disrespecting, not even disrespecting, you've been talking over everybody, and
Call
then
me.
you're gonna dry call her a bitch? Like,
it wasn't only that she wasn't
I
uh
missed that part.
she started cussing her out because I think by
I
that
think you
time
left
you left.
around that time. Yeah.
No, yeah, you
She
left for
started
this.
calling Feats a bitch and all that, but not only because she wasn't defending her at the time. If you listen to what she had said, she said, "Well, you've been up here and you haven't been um basically rejecting or like responding to what you're not disagreeing with them enough."
Yeah, I know.
That
She
was the
wanted some
first
help.
thing
That
she
she
said.
wanted backup.
And
She wanted
then she
backup.
said it was like, oh, um, what you call she's not protecting me or whatever. So it was like when she said that, that just well, also just from listening to her talk, that you could tell it was a lot of groupthink coming out of her. Like for her to expect just because that she's a woman that she thus has to agree with what she's saying is part of the problem. I've said this. I think, in my opinion, people with that females with that kind of mentality, and then men with the kind of mentality that are like thoroughbred red pillars, they breed each other. They are responding to each other. It's just one extreme constantly uh responding to another. She said every time it was in that conversation when it was time for a woman to do the impossible, which is take some kind of accountability. She just flat out rejected it. It just could not happen that something happened to a woman and a woman could have played a part in that said thing happening to her. That thought just could not she just could not comprehend. And again, same on other red pillar side. What these two extremes need to understand is that these niggas are just breeding each other. The response to women that think like that is Andrew Tate as person. That's gonna be the response.
Facts.
And then you're gonna have hella niggas and well men, let me not just say niggas. You're gonna have hella men agreeing to the bullshit he's saying because they've been listening and dealing with that kind of rationale from the other side. So
Hmm.
it's bullshit, breeding bullshit, arguing bullshit points to
And,
one another.
I completely agree with that because I think the whole reason niggas like Andrew Tate and even like Fresh and Fit, like these red pill like strong niggas, alpha shit like exist is because like for years like women have been uncensored. Like we've been hearing the niggas ain't shit movement for fucking how long? Like we've been hearing like women sit there and shit on men, blame men for problems that have nothing to do with us. I remember even watching this one video playback that y'all reacted to. It was some TikTok of a girl saying in like a billion years or something, men are not going to exist, and they should celebrate because of that. And like women have been doing this shit for years, where they just shit on men, like no repercussions. No one comes at them because people look at women as like inferior to men, so they just have the right to say that. And because of that, like it's a lot of men have just been fed up with this bullshit. So of course they're gonna take it to the extreme. And I don't have to agree with the things they're saying, but I get where they're coming from to an extent because nobody ever gives a fuck about how men feel. Nobody cares about how men feel. Even other men. Like how many men do you just see simping for women, sitting there giving excuses for them saying bullshit, saying just complete bullshit,
But
So
I will respond to this though. I think what we also have to take accountability for is that when I said that one side is responding to another, this whole like women, men ain't shit, men doing this, men ain't that, that that there didn't breed by osmosis. I do think that it has been historically worldwide speaking, women have been the most oppressed group of of many minority groups. I do think that is a fact. But what I also don't agree with is that it's funny how quickly the oppressed will retaliate by becoming the oppressor. I don't That's not the answer either. I think us in what I'm African American, I'm black, and I think a lot of the times a lot of black people also have this mentality. It's like, oh, um, well, white people just ain't this. White people just ain't. Well, now you're the 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 correct solution isn't to then think like them. That's not the solution. So you just being the opposite end of the bullshit that you have gone through. That is a fact. But you just doing that, your version of that is no better either.
And that's kind of my point too.
Facts.
When you, I feel like if your point is good enough, you shouldn't have to lie about the opposite position to sort of display your message. If your point is good enough, it should just get across by itself. And lying just like I disagree with a lot of what Tate says and all that bullshit. That Red Pill shit is kind of corny and cringe to me. But at the end of the day, if you believe your position is right, you shouldn't have to lie about the opposite position to get your message across. It's destructive to your message and just the overall discourse.
I think too what Lo was talking about earlier was like really on point, where it's like it's like it's funny because a lot of women I know will be like saying like men are the ultimate gaslighters, but it's like this is the ultimate form of gaslighting where we're all seeing and acknowledging this reality that is happening right before our eyes, and then we're being told that it's not happening. I think that's the worst part, and I think that's what really draws people to people like Andrew Tate, because he is offering the only path that's like has a semblance of reality, right? I think what Andrew Tate pushes is a lot of bullshit, all right? He's selling basically, in my opinion, a pyramid scheme to lonely men who can't get girls and don't know how to talk to nobody, right? But he at least acknowledges a couple tidbits that are true that nobody else wants to talk about. And it's it's I don't understand how nobody can like see that. How can nobody see that like, yeah, these are real issues that men face. Both regardless, some people don't even want to acknowledge that men have any issues in today's society, right? Everyone still thinks we're living in like the fucking 1600s or whatever, that men are literally like just fucking get in the kitchen, like don't work, woman, like you fucking suck. That's not the reality that we live in anymore. Like people have been saying, and no one. The good thing is no one's been saying that like, oh yeah, like women are just not oppressed at all today in society. Like no, there are definitely still issues that women face in today's society. Like it feels like it's it's very frustrating because it feels like men are just asking for like the bare minimum, which is like an acknowledgement of the issues that we face. Yet even that is like pulling teeth out of like everyone, and I
Bare
think that's the
minimum.
frustrating
Yeah,
part.
for
Bare
And
Bare
me,
minimum.
and
minimum.
to respond to that also, and even the difference in these two spaces is that um Andrew Tate would at least people like Andrew Tate at least acknowledge that there is some self improvement that you need to be doing. It's not just all it's women's fault. I think we had another Kevin Samuels was a great example of this. Kevin Samuels railed
He was the king
against
of this.
men
He was
for
the king of that.
years. He said, "Nigga, you want a bad bitch, but you okay, nigga? Are you making money, nigga? Are you in shape? The nigga asked the nigga, "Do we have a big dick?" Like, bro, like it's some kind of nigga. It's about you first. Like, but on the other end, it'll just be like when you saw the women speaking with him, he would be like, "Oh, well, you say you want to these women want niggas making 6, 7 figures. Okay, well, are you in shape? Are you are you submissive? Are you easy to talk?" And so it's like there is no accountability for self whatsoever. At
And what?
least
Well,
that these
sorry to cut
niggas
you.
say.
Sorry,
Oh, go
sorry to
ahead.
cut you off, but yo, even because I think you're about to say this, is what's and the crazy part about it is everything that a man is asking for is like an average ask. Nobody's saying that you
It's
have to
not that much.
be. You don't have to be the fittest woman in the world with the fattest ass or the biggest. Like, no, that's not the requirement that men are saying. The men are not saying that you have to be this like a specific height. Men are not saying that. Men are not saying that you have no one's not saying that women need to be this specific thing. But there are studies after studies. There is a swarm of information that is irrefutable, undeniable, that women are asking for a specific caliber of man that is a rarity. If you go, there's a study on Tinder where when you have the filter for women, I mean the filter that women have for men, the numbers shoot through the roof when women want a man who is 6'1", 6'2", or taller. That is an anomaly. That is an abnormally hot, tall man. The numbers shoot through the roof when a woman wants a man who makes 70, 80K per year, especially when it gets to 100K per year. That is an abnormal man. So that is not even like the average. But when a man asks for, hey, can you be the average weight? Hey, can you be can you just be an okay listener, talk to somebody who's communicative, somebody who is submissive, just average shit. Nah, you
What and you are absolutely right. What I was more so saying is that even I'm saying that for the ones that want better, you know what I'm saying? They at least acknowledge that if you want better, you have to be better. Like there's no acknowledgement. Like when the perfect example of this is if you ask, okay, you ask a woman, okay, you want a nigga with six figures, you want them to be 6 foot, right? You go down the okay, and then you ask her what do you bring to I am the table. No kind of no kind of nothing, no acknowledgement on why I deserve to be in a relationship with somebody like that. It's just because I'm just entitled to it.
Yeah, I just be floored. But yeah, I couldn't to answer the question about what happened in other space. I just couldn't be in a space where a woman was actively lying on things that men deal with, to sit here and to say that it is viewed as socially acceptable for men to put their hands on women, or that it just gets pushed aside, is not only factually incorrect, it is such a gross depiction of what actually is true in society, that it's just so massively disingenuous. It's massively disingenuous. Literally one of the most covered court cases since the OJ trial was a trial where we were literally debunking this woman claiming that Johnny Depp put his hands on her. And as time continued to progress, we learned more and more and more that she was the one doing the gaslighting. She was the one being physical. She was the one who was lying and manipulating Johnny Depp every single time.
People
And
still
yet, for
believe
whatever
Amber Heard,
reason,
by the way, too. It's crazy.
and the people to this day still believe her. But we had to go to court after Johnny Depp had lost millions of dollars in opportunities, had his fucking career on the line. If it was that socially acceptable, or people gave so little fucks about men putting their hands on women, then why would his entire career be on the fucking line? If nobody cared that much, why would Tory Lanez's career be on the fucking line with evidence that we don't even have yet? If that was the case, why were those things even transpiring? But I
Nah,
can't sit here and have a fucking legitimate conversation with somebody who's making a bad faith argument, because that was bullshit.
that Tory shit is insane for the simple fact that we literally do not know anything about what happened that night, and for the simple fact that niggas, bro. I'm gonna just say it like this, bro. If they got this nigga on camera shooting her, bro, they would never have let him let that jail, bro. I'm just keep it
Never,
like that.
never. If there is irrefutable evidence of him doing something, we wouldn't even still be waiting. It would have been done already.
They're just playing a money game, bro. That's all that is, bro. I
But
promise.
we gonna. I'm still, even in what's crazy is the reason why it's still so fucked up is that even as we talk about it to this day, we still talk about it by trying to give her the benefit of the doubt because that's still how much respect that men would still have for women in those scenarios. We still are talking about this while giving her the benefit of the doubt, even though all signs point to her fucking lying and being on bullshit. To this day, we still do that.
Well, no, they act as if you can't even think about something else happening in this situation, which is crazy. It's like, fam, how are we supposed to have a conversation if we can't even think about the outside possibilities? What's happening?
Bro, I can't, bro. And it's too many people who think like her who should not have a fucking voice, especially if you feel like that nigga Andrew Tate should have a voice. Nigga, her rhetoric lying about what men issues are or the reality of life is way more dangerous than y'all actually believe that it is. Because her lying about men being victims of domestic abuse and not acknowledging it, or as soon as somebody brings up an actual example, she just pivots to, oh, well, that doesn't really count. That doesn't really count.
I mean, just look at Terry Crews. Terry Crews, I remember he came out and said he was sexually assaulted. And everybody was like, dude, you're big. Get over that shit, man. I remember, I think it was D.L. Huey or some comedian came out and made a joke about him. They were like, oh, this big ass nigga sitting here talking about being sexually abused. Just beat that person up. Like, men come out with stories all the time of sexual abuse and things of that nature. But yet, like, nobody really gives a fuck. They're like, oh, you're a man. How can you be raped? You're a man. Like you're just fight them.
My bad. Because
not to mention all the high schoolers fucking they
that's a whole different subject right there. The female teachers, that's a whole different thing right there. That's crazy right there. But yeah.
Not to mention too, like the size thing is so fucking stupid, bro. Because you know damn well if Lizzo got fucking sexually assaulted, no one would be saying like, "Oh,
that's a fact."
Bro. Like, come on, bro. Quit
hell, look at Ronda Rousey, right? Floyd Mayweather has been accused of beating women in the past. I think he served a prison sentence or a jail sentence for it. Ronda Rousey came at Floyd Mayweather. She was like, "Oh, Floyd, step in the ring with me. I'll teach you how it is to be hit by a woman or something like that." Mind you, this same Ronda Rousey, you can go and look up her book. She got in an argument with a man, her ex-boyfriend at the time, I assume, and she beat him up in the car. And then she laughed about it. She laughed about it in the book. She was like, "Man, that guy was weak. I just beat him up easily." And then she told the same story on one of these sports shows or whatever. You can look this up. You can look up her book quote. You can find this clip online. She told the story, and they laughed about it. They laughed about her, a professional athlete that is trained to beat people up. She's been doing judo since she was like 12. She beat up another grown man, made this nigga black and blue, and they laughed.
Oh, by the way, y'all are getting cooked. Just wanted to let y'all know.
About what?
I don't even know. I'm not even talking right now. Niggas is coming at me, but now y'all getting cooked. I just sent some of the replies in there. They called you niggas incel Twitterverse weird shit. I don't know, some shit like that. Me personally, I
this is the problem, like
bro. But that's just me.
Why are they not gonna pull up in here though? If they really
got the problem, it's like when you talk level headed, it's just I think everybody. Well, I can't speak for everybody, but I at least know that like Low said it. I said it. Mustard, I believe, said it in the previous space. I think the Modus guy said it in the previous. Yeah. Nobody up here even agrees with most of the things the nigga said.
Nobody does. Nobody here.
Like nobody. Like so. That's not the point. Like these be so.
Bro, niggas just want to get a tweet off, bro. They just want to get a tweet off. They want to get their likes. They want to seem controversial because that's some lame ass shit.
I don't know why,
bro. She's not gonna see this, bro.
I don't know where this comes from, but for some reason, people feel like if they acknowledge the truths of other sides, it devalues their point. I don't know why.
Yeah, it's like if Hitler came out and said 2 + 2 is 4, and I said, yeah, he's right. He's right. He's like, how dare you agree with him? Yeah. Like, nigga, he's saying a fact. Like, what do y'all want?
But also, it's like I said that they've been going through a lot. I think in the previous space, another problem with the young lady is that Lowe said that we aren't in a by definition patriarchy, and since he said that, oh, you don't acknowledge the symptoms of patriarchy. Like, no, that's not what he said. That's not what he said. He said we aren't in a, like, by definition, we're not in that. But he didn't say that there aren't still symptoms and problems that we deal with due to patriarchy. Like, I don't
Bro, that's
I don't get it,
motherfucker.
bro.
Hello?
I feel like that's what people do when, like, they don't agree with you at all. When as soon as they don't agree with you, they try to twist the narrative to however they see to make you wrong. Like, they do that. Everybody that who disagrees with anything you say, no matter what the fuck it is, whether it's red pill or not, that's what the hell they do, and that shit is weird, bro.
We're gonna go to America. I don't know if that's the which go, or Damar, and then Kyle, and then Nerdy.
Hi, you can just call me Eric.
Eric, okay.
So I was listening very intently to the previous conversation and to this one. I think the topic is quite interesting. I do firstly want to acknowledge that men do go through issues. Cisgender heterosexual men do go through issues. They do have an entire subset of problems that needs to be dealt with. I agree that a lot of them face violence, especially Black men, face violence systematically from the government as well as within our society. A lot of people tend to inflict a very superficial form of masculinity onto Black men. And I feel like this is the fault of a lot of women, that they tell them, you know, you have to shape up, you can't cry. I don't want a nigga that's super emotional. I don't want a sassy nigga. I don't want a nigga that's this. I don't want a nigga that's that. They're typically pressured into being the provider, typically pressured into fighting, into perpetuating violence. So I first want to start off with that. I don't think anybody can negate that. In fact, there's a lot of people that do come out and say men are also sexually assaulted, and that needs to be acknowledged. Men do face domestic violence. That needs to be acknowledged. There's a lot of women who use their stance in society as an advantage to chastise a lot of men, and that is a problem. And so I just kind of wanted to emphasize that Black men's struggles specifically are very valid ones. Cisgender heterosexuals men's struggles are very valid, and they hold a lot of truth. I also think in the same space, that we can say we do live in a patriarchal society. We do live in a patriarchal society by and large, by definition. Men typically, especially within our community, are the heads of the household. They typically make a lot of the decisions. A lot of men who are not within that framework are typically chastised, are told they are less of men, told they're being emasculated, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Much of this rhetoric you see from the manosphere, especially. A lot of this rhetoric you see from the church. A lot of this rhetoric you see from the dudes on your corner. If you are not assertive and dominant over your family, over your wife, whatever, you're typically seen as less of a man. That is a direct result of a patriarchal society. Also, property, typically, and material values and last names, and that goes into patrilinealism, is passed down from father to son. That is a result of patriarchy. So by definition, we do live in a patriarchy. And even by people's added on details and criteria of what makes up a patriarchy, there are some things that are offshoots of that, such as men getting benefits of the doubt when it comes to things like the job market, men having a higher chance of getting hired, even if they do not meet their credentials, as opposed to a woman who has sometimes double their credentials. If you're talking about higher positions, getting paid more, there's many different things that go into patriarchy that, I mean, we can debate them because there are some people that will say that's not true, that's been debunked, whatever. But those are and have historically been direct results of patriarchy. And Andrew Cate's case, and this is the last thing that I'll say, in Andrew Cate's case, he is a very destructive person. I think we can all agree about that. His rhetoric is incredibly, it's rooted in nothing but emotional conjecture, in my opinion. I've watched a lot of his videos. He seems to have a very deep-seated sense of masculinity that he continues to overcompensate for, and typically uses women as a punching bag to assert that masculinity. I've heard people make connections between him and Kevin Samuels when it comes to holding men accountable, which, I mean, telling a man it's about speed. You need to get up, you need to get a job, you need to if you talk about having a meeting on Wednesday, you have a meeting tomorrow. This is how you make money. You make money. If you don't make money, you don't get women. I think that's an extremely weird way to prop up men, as opposed to focusing on their emotional health, their mental health. Many of these things,
women don't care.
From the emotional perspective, but we'll get into that. But from the emotional perspective, you're saying women don't care. Men should be the ones that are caring then. So if you're having other men on a platform not acknowledging
but that's not his agenda. His agenda is to get men to get women.
I'm not done. I'm almost done, but I'm not done yet. So I'm saying you guys are saying that he's holding men accountable. Holding men accountable by having them disregard their emotional health. That is the reason why a lot of men commit suicide, because people aren't paying attention to their mental health. They're not paying attention to their emotional well-being. And they're being told you just have to get out here and be a workhorse and work and work and work until you die and take care of your family and do all this other stuff that makes you a, quote, man, unquote, while the main reason why people are dying is not being acknowledged. Not to mention the comments that he's made about, which got him banned on Twitter first, about how rape victims should be responsible for their rapes and all that kind of stuff. It's, say what you want to. Yeah, you can make the argument that men are being silenced. I think this man deserved to be silenced in terms of a private business platform like Instagram, Twitter, whatever. So
I guess the only I'll be quick with it. I guess we just disagree with the patriarchy is because I think that if that was the case, then once more a woman wouldn't have the ability. I think there's still I think there's still systems of it, and I think there's still symptoms of it. But to say that we flat out live in one, I just don't think that is the case. I mean, women have the ability to lead the household. Single motherhood, and especially in the Black community, is been on the rise for several decades, and that you can definitely argue that is a symptom of also Black men or just men in general not being responsible, but also like the rhetoric of women believing that they could like lead a household has been definitely way more common in recent society, or at least in the last couple of years. So I would argue there's symptoms for sure. Do we live in it? I have a hard time believing that if you know if a woman can run for president. I just don't believe that. Like there's still symptoms of racism in the world, but to like compare it to like a full on governmental perspective of like racist laws being set in place that prevented people from gaining any type of leverage and financial stability or just anywhere in the government, like we don't live in that same society anymore. In terms of like yeah, I to the whole Andrew Tate thing. Again, once more, we all agree. Like, there's things that he says that is very damning. And in terms of the whole holding men accountable, I actually think Kevin Samuels did a way better job holding men accountable. Because when you tell you about the whole the whole mental health thing and watching over your health, and that was rhetoric Kevin Samuels had been pushing up until the day that he passed away.
He told people about the therapy and everything.
Yeah, he preached therapy and all that. Whereas Andrew Tate, you're right. I don't really hear him say too much about that as well, which I think is a very is a distinct difference. I think I guess the only counterpoint to the whole get a job thing is that I think both of them live in a reality where, regardless of it being unfortunate or not, and regardless of how unfortunate it is still relatively true that as a man, the only way that you are going to be received as valuable or respectable is if you have some type of an income where you have the ability to provide in some capacities. But at least Kevin Samuels, he did preach the concept, even the concept of two incomes in the household. If that's how you wanted to live your life, then I mean that's how it's going to have to be. At least be cooperative within the relationship that you have within a marriage. But yeah, Andrew Tate is definitely way more extreme traditionalist rhetoric that he kind of pushes. And I guess the final point is, yeah, I don't. Again, once more, and to the I guess the new people in here, I have no problem with him losing a platform. It's just the inconsistencies because there's several women who preach things that are much worse, way worse than what Andrew Tate was preaching, and who've had a platform for not just a few months but for years, and like they still haven't lost their platform. So that's to me pretty odd, especially when some of these women are talking about like certain race of men should not exist anymore. Like they're trying to delete a whole race of men. I think that's way much more extreme than whatever Andrew Tate was saying.
Can I quickly respond to that, or should I wait till the hands go?
I
I
was
guess
gonna
I
go
know.
right quick, but you can go. Yeah, you can go, and I'll just go right quick, and I'll just hop out.
Yeah, so I was just going to quickly add that I agree with a lot of what you said. I just have 2 points to make. To the point about patriarchy, yes, you can argue that single mothers do exist, and there's a minimal number of households that exist where women do lead the household. Again, I don't think that's indicative of the vast majority. One, two. I think just by the existence of those, just by the fact that a woman can run for president, that doesn't mean a system doesn't exist. Shirley Chisholm, who was a black woman in Congress, ran for president in the 1970s. That did not mean racism nor sexism didn't exist back then. That just meant that she was a token that was able to go and slip through the filtration system and run for Congress, and not only win Congress but also try to run for president. The second thing that I wanted to say is to the point about like the mental health aspect and all that kind of stuff. Like, I do agree that, I've seen a lot of Kevin Samuels content. I know that he was a kind of an across the board offender to a sense. He started out with men and then kind of worked his way over to women. I didn't see him paying a whole lot of attention to mental health, even though he did mention men should go to therapy. But I do think that it is a lot of men trying to uphold this false sense of masculinity. And I think Andrew Tate is one of those people that constantly wants to uphold this like very stereotypical macho man thing. And let's be honest, Andrew Tate is a very broken man. If you look into his childhood, like that boy went through a lot. Like went through a lot with his father, with his watching his mother get beat up. Like he's witnessed a lot, and I think therapy would help him. And I think that he's caved into this thing where like, I'm a man, I don't need therapy, and does a very good job of using words to explain his very dumb points. So yeah.
Modest. Let me
Yeah,
let
just
Modest
right
go
quick.
real quick.
Yeah, I was just gonna say right quick before I dip out. I'm saying that like I'm not gonna be the one to tell men where and where not to get their advice, their whatever they need, especially if the other side is not gonna do it the proper way. If they're gonna lie about what's going on, who would I be to tell men not to go to Andrew Tate? Like, what do I look like? I look goofy. If the other side is gonna lie about basic reality things, why would I sit there and lambast men for trying to go and find what the content that they need? I guess in a way. And right quick, I was just gonna say about the patriarchy point. We still live in society and aspects of patriarchy, but at the end of the day, women are starting to out earn men. Women are starting to be out educated than men. So I don't think I can sit here and tell the same men who are going to Andrew Tate for the advice, the content that they need, and sit here and tell them that we're living in a patriarchal society when they see the effects of what's going on. I just don't feel like that's really ethical or helpful.
Nerdy, and then we'll go to Kyle. I know Nerdy. I don't know if you want to respond or what you about to.
All right, I'm gonna go.
Yeah. Yeah. So I kind of partially agree with you, Eric. When it comes to the patriarchy thing, I do agree that we do have like patriarchal structures somewhat still in place. However, I think the important thing is you need to acknowledge that they're changing, right? We can acknowledge that women still face problems, but we can't pretend that it's still the same problems. I think that is like one things that is really hard for a lot of like very left people to understand is like things can still be bad, but they cannot be as bad as they were. And to say that women are still in the same place as they were in the 1960s, 1970s, you are living in a different world. Okay, you
It's
literally are denying
disingenuous.
reality. It's very disingenuous. You are living in a different reality. We could bring up any stat you want. Like colleges today are 60-40 men or women. 60% of colleges are women. Of college students are women. Like the reality that is that women are gaining more and more economic independence, right? And men are even, I would argue, economically are starting to fall behind, but nobody wants to talk about that. That's a whole different conversation. When it comes to the mental health thing, I agree with you. Nobody cares about men's mental health. That's a bad thing. Men should care more about men's mental health. I hate to bring up like my own personal stuff, but I bring up, I talk to my friends about their mental health. I try to keep up with them. I try to make sure they're doing all right. And I do think more men should start encouraging other men's mental health. Problem is, you know who else doesn't care about men's